Well, let's take a look at what is happening in the markets, and we start off with the JSE. Of course, some news that investors are digesting from the Asian markets are new targets that have come out of China with GDP for 2025. The target being put at around 5% and inflation expectations at around 2%. Looking at the JSE, it has come back into green territory, and of course, that being carried by the PGM miners. We saw the same thing on Monday, and that's filtering through today after taking a breather. Today, the all share up by more than 1%, and the resources 10 complex there carrying the bulk of those gains, climbing almost 3.5%. Financial 15, they're edging higher by 1/3%, and the industrial 25 with a gain of almost 0.9%. Let's take a look at the U.S. markets. Of course, those are still digesting the implications of Trump tariffs on its trade partners, Canada, Mexico, and also China. But also we did have the ADP private payrolls coming out, and the growth in jobs numbers, they're surprising to the downside. Quite a mixed picture. The tech-heavy NASDAQ being the only bourse in red territory, declining slightly, just over 0.1%. S&P 500 relatively flat, 0.03% above that flat line, and the Dow there climbing more than 0.25%. Let's take a look at the markets across the Atlantic, and taking a look at the FTSE 100 up by more than 1/3%. The CAC 40 with a gain just shy of 2%, and the DAX climbing by almost 3.5%. Let's check in on the currency scene and start off with how the rand is doing against some of the major currencies. Not any major change on the rand, relatively flat against the US dollar at 18.40 rand, against the pound at 23.67 rand, and against the euro at 19.79 rand. Let's take a look at how the other currency pairs are doing. Euro dollar at 1.07, pound dollar at 1.28, and the yen strengthening against the US dollar slightly, just above 148 against that currency.